Good morning. Well, it's morning here. I think you're the same time zone, right?
Yeah, same time
Yep.
zone.
So,
Good morning.
usually do my interviews in the late afternoon or evening, but it's morning, so this is fun. Um, to listeners, fans, this is Miss Joy Baker.
Hi, everybody.
Um, you want to tell us about yourself?
Sure. I'm never quite sure where to start, but well, I've been on the path, of inner growth, spiritual growth for about 30 years now. Before that, I worked with horses for pretty much my whole life, showed horses for 10 years and trained and exercised race horses for 15 years. So I think my first word was horses. Just, they were everything to me. But I started thinking there had to be more to life. Sometimes we're just like, there's got to be more than this. And I started out, it wasn't because of the horses, it was because of the 7 days a week and physical work and barely making enough money to survive. So I started asking that question and then ended up meeting somebody who was into personal growth, and they introduced me to it and started reading books about it, learned about the power of the mind and our belief system and all of that. And then when I read the book, the Celestian Prophecy, it was probably about 28 years ago that I first read it, and that was when I started learning about energy fields and how they interact. And it was like the moment, it was like, I think the mic dropped then, because it was like everything started making sense. We're not all separate in this world, even though the five senses will tell us that we are. And then I started, like, we are all connected through energy. And I just started diving really deeply into energy. And I started to realize that because by that time, trauma, repressed memories were coming up of, various, like, I went through sexual abuse and such growing up, and I went through 8 years of repressed memories of that. So as all that was coming up, I'm like, okay, I need something to deal with all this. And there was other stuff, I was starting to remember bullying and such that went on. I had epilepsy and speech impediment as a child. So that made me a target. Any kid that's different, they get picked on. And so I went through that, like so many of us on this path have gone through that. And so I started looking for techniques, like energy tools that could support me through this, through the trauma. I went through two bankruptcies until I started my business. Then my money situation started to change. And so I never had much money. So I'm like, okay, I've got all this trauma coming up. I want to deal with this. I like this. I'm interested in it. So I started searching online. And I found, different, even though that was 25, even 30 years ago, internet was just coming out. It's so different now. But started finding different techniques I could do. Went to whatever workshops I could afford, volunteered at a lot of them, and just everything I could. And then about 10 years ago, I started doing the healing full time. And it's just, here I am now, about 10 years later. Got on my first show 8.5 years ago, and a lot of fear with that. Just one thing I want to say, the fear, if you're waiting for the fear to go away before you take action, it doesn't. You take action, you bust through it, and one thing I have found, busting through the fear, where it's never pleasant. I don't think anybody really wants to do that, but there's freedom on the other side. That's where you find your freedom, is busting through the fear. So that's my story.
Amazing. So like I had shared with you, I had told a lot of fans that you were coming on, and you're pretty popular in the spiritual world here. So they were like, "Oh my God!" I think the one number one question was they were talking. You talk heavily about breaking free from past trauma and how that can hinder your progress. So a lot of people were asking, how do you break free from that trauma and be able to move forward? You know.
Oh, good question. First, I mean, because everybody's trauma is unique to them. Yeah, we've all pretty much everybody on the path has gone through it. And, that's what usually gets us on the path, is something like that. And then we start, sometimes we don't even know that's it, but something we will be guided to that. The first step I would say, because I don't know what kind of trauma you're dealing with, is, so let's say there's trauma, a person doesn't really know what it is, but you're feeling off. Maybe you're feeling stuck, you're feeling off, just don't know what's just if something's not right, ask yourself what that feeling is. Ask yourself, what am I feeling? And trust that. Humans, it doesn't matter what word you come up with, if it's shame, if it's loss, if it's confused, if it's overwhelmed. We put, words on things because otherwise we just be in complete chaos. But to the energy itself, it doesn't matter. So go ahead and name whatever you're feeling. When you name something, once you identify and acknowledge it, it doesn't have the same power over you, and it can no longer keep you stuck to the same degree. And then, yeah, I can already feel, people relaxing. That releases sacral right there. So stop for a moment and just say, okay, I'm feeling stuck. I'm feeling overwhelmed. Like as soon as you put you take a moment and go into it, you will give it a word. And then it doesn't have the same power over you. And then acknowledge it, say, and talk to it if you want. And then, so you can do it the easy way. You identify, acknowledge, and just send to the light, and the energy will release. If you want to go a step further, you identify, acknowledge, and accept, and then release it. Because the energies that are coming up, the emotions, energy and motion, they are your energy being. So it's your energy that's coming up. So actually, there's a part of you that wants to be accepted. So, and some people will skip the acceptance part because they're just not ready to accept themselves. But when you identify, acknowledge, and accept, your whole self will relax, because really that's what you're looking for, is acceptance. And then just send it to the light, and it will be sent to the light. When you send it to the light, the energy itself actually transforms from a frequency of shame or guilt or fear or overwhelm into the light. Now, why many people won't do that, it's a simple process, but often we don't do what's simple and easy. And why people won't do that is, one, it seems too simple, but also once you identify where you're stuck or what you're feeling or anything like that, it releases an energy within you. And once energy starts to shift, it's like it starts a train in motion, all the steps in motion. And it can feel safer and more comfortable to stay stuck or keep everything the same, if you're an overwhelm or a whirlwind of emotions or anxiety and such. So that will start the process. But then also, are you willing to take the next actions and the next actions? But that's how I, yeah, answer that question, those.
I find it interesting what you said, to speak to that trauma, speak to what it is, and I'm not going to get into my personal stuff, but people that know me know I've been through some extraordinary trauma in my earlier life, like huge, epic, horrific, horrifying things, and I had someone tell me, someone in power at that time say, you are not this situation. You need to make your way through it and use it as a springboard to excel in the world. And at the time I was like 19. I'm like, what the hell is he talking about? Until things just kept spiraling out of control. I didn't know how to deal with this trauma. I didn't feel like anybody around me understood. And I got really mad at myself and I said, no, we're done. I want this, and this out of life. So I'm just going to get mad at this trauma. This wasn't my fault. There was nothing I could do to stop it, control it. So we're going to just throw it away. Take it and throw it away. And I don't know, it almost felt like a boomerang came back to me, but it didn't come back to me in pain or trauma. It came back to me in power. And I
Wow.
moved
Wow, love
through
that.
the world, and I'm not rich. I wish I was, but I am very successful, and I'm educated, and I've got a lot of hands in a lot of different things in the world right now, which are fun and amazing. And I finally, I think it was like at 40 when I sat down and remembered back, like, wow, I made it. I did well. I'm okay. I remembered that person's words and they finally made sense to me. Like, you need to,
Wow.
use, so I always tell people now, whatever you're going through, it's pain or fear or trauma, use it as your power. Grab
Hmm.
it, harness it, transform it into something else completely, and use it as like fuel or, power to move forward.
Yeah,
So yeah.
I love that. I absolutely love that, transform it into power, and
Mhm.
that's how I'd sum up my whole journey. I think most of us on this path, it's about claiming your power, but your divine power, and I wanna just I acknowledge divine power because I had somebody say to me once, you know, it was a video like this and the interview like this, and they're saying, "Why do you keep talking about power? Power's bad." And I realized they were thinking of power as patriarchal power, which is, confining and demanding, restrictive, abusive, and such. But you're referring to, divine power, which is very different. So,
Right.
yeah, I
Divine
love that.
power, whatever it is that you wanna do, you wanna be a creative, you wanna be in the legal system, then you would be looking towards education. Use your power to power your brain, your mind, your body, your soul, to make you get up every day and go pursue these avenues that you want. So that's the power I'm referring, like, more divine power.
Mhm.
And I think people
Love
look
that.
at power as what you said, it's, something different, but,
Mhm.
if you harness it and use it the right way, you will succeed. But somebody told me recently, "I've done all that and I'm powerful." I'm like, "I know, but I think you lack empathy." So don't forget,
Yeah,
when you're on that path to succeed, don't forget that you need to be empathetic to everyone around you. So,
absolutely. That's so important. And yourself. I want to include that and yourself. Because it's so easy to forget
mhm.
about ourselves.
I agree. One of the other questions I came across, somebody was asking the 3D matrix. You talk about limiting beliefs. So, how do we break free from that where we are limiting our own beliefs? Kind of ties into what we're saying right now.
Mhm.
So,
Okay, so that's a good question. So first of all, know where you're going to. So let's just talk a little bit about 3D, 4D, 5D. So these are dimensions. And in those dimensions that's your consciousness, meaning your thoughts, your beliefs, your behaviors, your emotions, your interactions with others, like who you are. That's your consciousness. And that exists in a dimension. So the third dimension is full of, it's like a structure of limiting beliefs, limiting thoughts, limiting emotions, meaning fear, guilt, shame, anger, anxieties, all of that. And so that makes up the 3D. So how you get out of that. So the fourth dimension, that's like a portal to the fifth dimension. So when you're in the fourth dimension, you're doing your inner work, you're processing and such. And then I think of it as I'll do a meditation sometimes like walking down a path. That's the fourth dimension. To the fifth dimension. Well, to get to the fifth dimension, and I sometimes call it the new earth, because we're co-creating with it, the higher power for in the new earth, the higher dimensions. What are your desires? I would say start there. Like you've got to have something to work forward towards, whether it's travel, writing a book, starting a business, asking for a raise, getting a job, going on a multi-day or multi-week hike, or swimming with the dolphins, or whatever it is. So, or it can be something simple. I really want to buy a new pair of runners, or maybe you want to I move to a different place. It doesn't have to be big. It can be simple, but you need some kind of a desire to move forward to. Otherwise, if you're wanting to break free of those limiting beliefs, thoughts, emotions, and such. If you don't have something you're moving forward to, the energy just keeps looping in that third dimension, that of limitation and restriction and such. So what you would do is, let's say you're doing your inner work, you're processing, you're going deep, however you do your person does their inner work. And when you have, what we often do, so I call that the fourth dimension, the portal, is we're like, oh, that feels so much better, the sense of relief. And then we're like, okay, we're done. But then what happens is, if you don't then take a moment, I mean, there is another step. So you take a moment and you're like, okay, now how do I want to live? What do I want to create in my life? And then you connect to that and focus on that and build that up. So you're creating the energy in that, you're creating that energy form. If you don't, what will happen in moments of stress, we default to our comfort zone. And your comfort zone is the energy field you grew up in. So, and we all have stresses in life. We can feel really good and walk outside and notice it's raining instead of being sunny. And, that can be a stress. Doesn't have to be big. And then you go back to your comfort zone, which again, that's the energy field you grew up in. So if you grew up in fear, anger, shame, guilt, being restricted, limited, feeling not good enough, being told you're not good enough, or shamed, that's familiar. Yes, it's toxic and it's dysfunctional, but it's familiar to us. In moments of stress, we automatically default to that. So the more you can build a picture, like a vision, and because it's energetic form, it's in the energy field once you start to connect to it. So let's say you want to buy a house. And, for a lot of people, it appears to be out of range for a lot of people. And there's a lot of hopelessness around that. So first of all, what you'd want to do is picture your house, the neighborhood, ideal neighborhood, and picture the house. You want carpet, hardwood, you want how much land you want, everything else. You feel into it with emotion. So in other words, you imagine you're in that house. So you feel yourself. It doesn't have to be an exact house, but what it so you decide what it's going to feel like in there and how many bedrooms, all of that. And you feel into that and you feel the freedom of that and the happiness. Oh my gosh, I got my own house. I feel so good. Oh man, it feels, and you just feel that in every cell of your body. And then you say to the universe, this or something greater, this or something greater. Because as great as our imagination is, it's still limited by our experiences and conditioning and such. So you imagine it, you feel into it, what you're doing, it's not just an exercise, you're actually creating that energetic form in the energy field. And the more you do that, the more you give strength and power to that energetic form of your desires. So now when you're working through your stuff, you're stuck or you're overwhelmed or you're in anxiety, you're like, okay, I've got that desire. I really want to do that. Oh, and add one more thing here, because often we'll do all of that, but still nothing really moves. Start asking yourself, what if it's possible? What if it's possible? What if it's possible? Because if our mind is still like, oh, that's nice, you're doing all this action, but it's really not possible, you're going to cancel it out. That's when you go into self-sabotage. But when you start, and then I've done this, I do this like many times, you start saying, what if it's possible? What if it's possible? What if it's possible? Like a mantra, just over and over and over again. The what if bypasses the resistance of your ego mind. It is whatever you're desiring, something greater. And saying it possible opens up your energy field and will bring in possibilities and opportunities. If you do all of that and you do it on a continual basis, you will definitely get yourself out of the 3D. It doesn't mean, I just want to clarify that, it doesn't mean energy is always cycling. We're always cycling through the dimensions. We're multidimensional. So it's not about just being feeling good all the time. Something's going to happen. You're going to go back to the 3D, but this is actually the ascension process. The ascension process, we've all heard the word, is when you're doing working this process and you're spending more and more time feeling happy, feeling good about yourself, feeling healthy and vibrant and allowing money to flow in. Something happens and you're back in the 3D. And it's not about not going back there. We're here to, go through the cycles of dimensions and share the light, to whatever dimension we're in, and to see the light. But it's how quickly you go back to the 3D and you don't go, oh, it's over again, this again, and just give up. You're like, okay, this happened. You might for a little bit, but then you say, this happened. What's the solution? What can I do to move forward? What kind of action can I take? Is there somebody I need to talk to? And you get yourself out of that 3D space much quicker. That's ascension. It's not just about staying in one dimension or another.
I've had someone ask me because I'm regularly manifesting and moving forward and growing, attempting to evolve daily. Someone said, I don't understand like how you described if you want a house, you imagine it, you feel it, somebody said to me, I don't know how to feel that. So I don't know, maybe you can confirm what I
Mm.
said to them. Maybe I was wrong, but I said the only way you can think to learn how to make yourself feel that is imagine a brand new relationship, how you feel like you're on a high and you feel like you're flying and everything's so amazing and the birds are singing. Find that feeling without the relationship. and then
Oh,
be
I love that.
happy. Be there in it. You've I'm sure we've all been through a brand new relationship where the birds are singing, the flowers look bright, and everything's
Yeah.
amazing. Find that feeling daily, feel it without being in that relationship. And that is how I think you learn how to feel. And then I feel like it would help you learn to manifest and move forward. If you can harness those feelings without being present in the situation, just because you can't see the house of your dreams physically doesn't mean it's not there. You just got to find a way to learn how to feel it. What are your thoughts?
I think that's an absolutely brilliant example, Anne. That's great. I love that. I actually had somebody ask me that, like she heard me talk about this before and she says, I understand it, but she said exactly the same thing. How do I feel? And what I said, I like your example actually, because what you're doing is you're accessing a memory. And we've all had moments we might forget about them if we go back far enough when we felt happy, uplifted, inspired, even if you have to go back to when you were a kid or a teenager. Yeah, first relationship, that honeymoon stage, that's a really good example. Because, yeah, most adults have at least felt, the honeymoon stage, that really feeling good, or, a chemistry with somebody. What I told her, I said, is sometimes if you feel like you just can't feel anything, then imagine it. So imagine what it would be. Let's say you're in your own house and you have that moment of happiness and you're like, I don't know what happiness feels like. Okay, well, if you feel happy, you feel light, you feel expansive, you feel more flexible, flowing, you feel at ease, you feel a sense of, imagine how the body feels. And then, that's we think of happiness, happiness as a word. But really, you can take it down to, well, what does my body feel like? What does like here's a so you can see the contrast. So most people know what it feels like to feel either fear, where you're dread almost, or anxiety, where you're just kind of you can't even think straight, and your mind's scattered. And your body's, you're off balance, you're upset, your body, you can feel that in your body. Often that's like a hypervigilant feeling in your body, just kind of like that. And so you know what that feels like. Now take a deep breath in, just let that all go. Now imagine happiness in your body, that's a lightness. So imagine your body feels light. Just let your body, and even if you're like, I don't know what my body's like when it feels light, well, imagine it. Just imagine it. Sometimes we just have to imagine it before we can even feel it. And imagine when you were a child and had no cares and worries. You might have to go back to when you were a baby. So remember, ask your mind to remember that. Just imagine that and imagine feeling light. Just let your body feel light. There you go. Yeah. Hey, can I take a moment to do an exercise here?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay. So, and I'm not going to leave you in this state, but the first state I want you in is to actually, tell you first of all, I'm just going to have you hold your arm out like that. So your palms out, and just so your arms like, yeah, like that. I'm just going to have you hold your arm like that. You can put it down for now. I was just showing you what. So imagine a time, or it could be right now if you want, when you're really stressed, you're anxious, you feel heavy in the body, just feel really heavy in the body. We've all had maybe even a bit of a depressed time, a dark time. We aren't going to leave you here. We're giving you permission. We actually want you to go on that heavy time. Now get hard on yourself. Like, you just, we aren't going to leave you there. We're doing this for a purpose. I can hear people going, why is she doing this? And just that you're feeling heavy in your body and you're down in yourself and, oh, nothing ever works. I just want to give up. Now put your arm back. Keep thinking, keep feeling that way. Just put your arm to the side and just pull it back. Just pull it back. And you're down on yourself. Your body's really heavy and limited and you're just feeling stuck and overwhelmed. And once you start to feel the stretch, pretty good stretch, just notice where your arm is, how far back it is. So just look back, see where your hand's pointing to. And okay, so just put your arm down, shake that off, just shake it off.
No, that's
There you go. Yeah, just let it go. I'm just gonna speak a little light language to release that. So shukabasa, tukabase, let's let go of all this heaviness, bring in some lightness and freedom. And now Take a deep breath in and just imagine your body feeling as light as a feather. And you're saying, talking to yourself, using words and phrases like, I am so amazing. I love myself. I like myself. I appreciate myself. I accept every cell of my body. And you know what? It's all possible. These desires, my heartfelt desires, it's all possible. And you're feeling that lightness in your mind, body, your thoughts, your spirit. Your entire self feels light. And just take a breath in, let your whole self lighten up. Now put your arm out, feeling light, free, light as a feather. Just put your arm out, put your hand out, and then just put your arm back as far as you can, feeling light, free, at ease, feeling so good about yourself. And your arm just keeps going back and back and back and back until you start to feel a stretch. Now, if you notice when you were down on yourself, feeling tight and heavy and such, your arm didn't go back very far until there's a stretch, maybe even pain. But when you're feeling good, when you're feeling uplifted, when you're feeling light in your mind, body, your thoughts, your spirit, your body moves so much easier. You can stretch so much more. And that's just, I wanted to show that example. It's like a physical example of how that's like a physical example of feeling light, feeling free, feeling just expansive. And then you can also see how your thoughts and how you talk about yourself and such, because I'm big on self-talk, like being appreciating yourself. That can how that can limit you, it limits your body, that also limits your energy field. Or you can create that expansiveness in your body and your energy field by being really kind to yourself and believing that it's possible.
I frequently talk to myself. I don't have a large support system around me, so found in my life, I've had to be my biggest fan, and I do it. I just, it's not always the nice, sweet, empowering words. Sometimes it's like, listen, bitch, you gotta do that, I mean, but either way, it's always positive. Something else I learned to do along the way, and I mean, just bits and pieces of people that I've come across, to put your happy colors around you. Like if you're in a really bad place, like recently I had a really horrific event happen and I started shaking. I couldn't cry. I just was just, that feeling of I don't know if it's fear or anger or everything combined and feeling helpless in the situation. And so I kind of just closed my eyes and surrounded myself with my favorite colors. Like they're swirling with glitter and prettiness and it helped. I don't know if that's a thing or whatever, but maybe part of
Love it. Love it. Yeah, well, color is vibration. All colors have their own frequency. And so that's you've got some brilliant techniques there, Anne.
I've
I
been
love that.
doing unexplained realms for like 6 years now, and along the way, I've encountered and met people like yourself, and I always take something because, like I said, I went through some horrifying trauma as a young person, and while I feel successful in healing that and moving forward, I'm always open to try and keep growing because
Mhm.
what if I can help someone else, So,
Mhm.
yeah, I just learned a few things along the way.
Awesome. Love it. Love it.
So, mm, speaking of trauma, like, are there techniques that you suggest in your, when you work with people, how to unlock like the ancestral traumas, like things that are coming forward from maybe the ancestors, whatnot? Um, any thoughts?
If you want it, then if we have time for a group process, I can actually
Sure.
do our ancestral trauma release.
Yeah,
And
that would be great.
specific techniques. It's always so individualized, like when I work with clients and such. So, and uh, I would talk to them, just like you talk to your emotions
Mhm.
and talk to your ancestors, and you don't have to know them. You just like it can be anybody. Just say, are there any ancestors that are stuck in no. What would be the question be? Let's see if you wanna contact your ancestors And it depends what you want. If you want to learn from your ancestors and ask your ancestors, okay, ancestors, I need your help here. Is there anything I can learn from you that will help me move forward? Is there anything you can suggest? Is there anything I need to know from you to help me move forward? Or if you feel like you're stuck in your ancestors' trauma, well, actually, you're doing the work for your ancestors. Once somebody is like, we're on this physical earth so that we can do the inner work, but we're releasing for ourselves, the physical beings, but we can also release for people who have passed, especially if we're emotionally connected to them. And when you're doing your inner work, and you can also just add the statement, say, and for my ancestors as well, release my ancestors from this as well. But you can also like your ancestors, the qualities that you want, whether it's strength or it's power or it's happiness or it's encouragement, or you can also ask your ancestors that you can align with that as well. So it's not, we focus on ancestral trauma because that's what we're releasing, but you can also receive gifts from them as well. And just ask to align with them. Like if you want, let's say you're working as a healer and you want to up level your gifts, you can always ask your ancestors to support you with their healing gifts. You can ask the universe to show you either an ancestor or even a past life in which you worked as a healer or medium or whatever you're looking to connect with. Just ask the universe and trust the journey. If you trust, you will be taken on a journey.
I did a past life regression once, and like an ancestor type communication once, and they said that I was the healing that was needed in the family line. And I thought, when I was younger, I was like, what? Now I look back like, okay, maybe I can see where my strength through my situation could be the healing that I know a lot of family members look to me for that now. So
Hmm.
yeah, very interesting when you're younger and you do like ancestor communications or something like that, and you're like, I don't even know what that means. What? As you get older and experience things, you're like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
but
that's one thing about, as you get older, yeah, wisdom, you start to, that's why I had to go through that. And we are here as we are unraveling the trauma and the ancestors carried. And so yeah, it can be, a lot of us on the path have gone through some really dark times and a lot of trauma and abuse and such. But you're unraveling for yourself, yeah, and humanity and the ancestors as well. And when I say the ancestors, like it's hundreds, thousands of years of conditioning. I believe I call it the Great Awakening. It's really chaotic right now all around the world, but we're also awakening in a big way. And a lot that ancestral conditioning is being unraveled. So yes, it's chaotic. And deeper stuff might even be coming up. But you're moving through some deep stuff right now. Like anybody who's saying it's taking, is too hard or it's too taking too long or it's just going too deep, it's not just you're unraveling for, or some people might be saying, I've been on this path for decades. Why is stuff still coming up? Well, I think there comes a point when you work through a lot of stuff and now you start working through for other people and ancestors and such. So yeah, it's an interesting journey, that's for sure.
definitely, there was a something I saw, and it was something you talked about with aligning energies of the new earth for manifestation. So the new earth meaning what is like
So yeah, the higher consciousness. So I call it the fifth dimension and above. And that's where the divine energies are. So if you want to say feel happy or be in the flow or feel at ease. So you like we were talking about earlier, you imagine that. So you imagine, and that exercise we did, that kind of shows you more of a physical example of how it feels to like when you're in the 3D, you're heavy. When you're feeling light, like everything is so much more flexible. Your body, your mind, your thoughts, your energy field expands. So aligning with the energies, the emotions, energy and motion of the fifth dimension. So the fifth, so the emotion that holds together the third dimension is fear, and anything that aligns with fear, guilt, shame, anger, anxiety, and then the core limiting beliefs like not enough and not feeling safe and such. Um, in the fifth dimension, the emotion that holds that all together is divine love, that love. And anything that aligns with love. So happiness, joyfulness, gratitude, fun, laughter, appreciation, kindness, compassion, all of that. Even just saying those words, I can feel the relaxation. So to align with that, first decide, how you'd like to feel. Start with your emotions and how you want to feel. And because when you start, you're co-creating in the new earth. When you start co-creating, you start with the energy first, and emotions are energy and motion. So you start with your emotions. So how would you like to really feel in your life? Happy, light, joyful? You want to appreciate yourself more? Like, what would you like to feel? So, what is something you'd like to feel, Anne, more of?
Oh my gosh, less stress. I
Okay.
carry a day job where
Oh,
I
wow.
heavily work with people all day and on a how do I put this without giving it away? I work with people on a basic necessity that everyone needs, and it becomes very difficult when I can't help provide that for them. People just want to be angry. Every day I'm encountering like 5 to 6 angry people, and I wonder, but why? I mean, I know maybe you're in a bad situation, but do we need to be this angry to that level? So I think I definitely would want to feel less stress and less a responsibility, lighter, I guess,
Okay.
So because I'm overall pretty much a happy person. I can be happy in most any situation, but just to have like that a little more lightness and less stress, less responsibility of other people's emotions. So
Yeah, yeah, that can be heavy. First of all, you're never responsible for other people's emotions.
I
So
agree, but
one thing, make
they
sure yeah, to create in the new earth, you want to frame it in the positive. So you want less stress. So what you're looking for is ease and lightness. And so one of the things, and you could do this for a few times before you go in. So do you know when you're going in each day who you're going to be dealing with, or is it just random people that will come in and
most of the day, 80% of the day is structured where I know who I'm dealing with, but there's that other 20% that just could pop up.
okay.
It's difficult.
Okay. So what I would do, and I've done this before, is just take a deep breath in, just let yourself relax. And as that beautiful energy comes in, put your attention on your heart and just let your heart be filled up with that beautiful, radiant energy. And now, so some of the people you're going to be working with, not all of them are interacting with, just send puffs of love, grace, beauty to all the people you're going to be interacting with. The universe knows, and just send little puffs of love. So completely relax, feel at ease, and a person can do this with any kind of relationship in which you want more ease with. And just say to the universe, like before you go, or even in the morning briefly, you can do it, if you're in the shower or something like that. Doesn't have to be a big thing. Just breathe into your heart, put your attention on your heart. And the benefit is you feel that first, and then send a puff of love. Say, universe, I know some of the people I'm going to be interacting with. And if you want, you can bring them to mind and just send a little puff of love to them in grace. And now, this doesn't work if you're a person stuck in right and wrong, or I have to be right, or I'm right about this, or judging. You have to let that go, and you're just sending the grace from your heart. And universe, anybody else I interact with today, send them a puff of love and grace from my heart now so that they're in a more gentle energy. They're feeling lighter and they're feeling safer when we
Mm,
interact.
I've
And
had
yeah,
I've
go
had
ahead.
someone, tell me something very similar, almost identical, but, like, believe like rays of love surround that person with, in my little mind's eye, I make it glitter. I love glitter, like glitter things. So in my mind's eye, that angry person, I'm surrounding them with like glittery love, and usually it tones them down a little. I don't know if it's real or not, but in my mind it tones them down. But it's kind of the same thing. You're sending like the good positive vibes, love to them, like
Mhm.
relax. Whatever's made them upset, whatever's got their anger to that level, I always know it's not me. I know that I'm not responsible for other people's emotions, but they try to put it on you sometimes. Like for example, people that have road rage, they're zooming around, flipping you off, yelling, something happens and they blame you. Like it's your fault. That's just the world, I think, today. It's strange, but
Yeah, if you're in a moment, like, some in the midst of something like that, then, yeah, that can be tough. But then if, say, something like that happens and you deal with something like that in the moment and somebody's really angry and taking it out, whether it's road rage or something like that, or somebody at work you're dealing with, and be kind to yourself, because afterwards we can get, I should have handled it this way, or get angry at yourself for not saying something, or get really angry at that person. But that just keeps everything stuck. Start by being kind to yourself. And you know what? Maybe I could have handled it this way, that way. Maybe I should have done that, or maybe I should have done that action and the person would never have gotten angry with me. But let all that go and just be kind to yourself, and you say, "You know what? That happened. That's a learning,
yeah.
that's something I can learn from, I can grow from, and maybe they can even grow from." And that sending puffs of love and grace or kindness or something, compassion, understanding to a person, I know it's not magic, I know how it works, but I understand the energy behind it, but I still, like what my clients have experienced and with others they're dealing with, it's just it seems like magic,
It
but
really
it's
is
it's
magic because I do the same thing. Just I think everyone has to visualize it different when you're saying puffs of love. Like I said, I'm envisioning swirling rays of love around them. I'm smothering them with love. Like they're screaming at me and looking at me like, why isn't she reacting? Like, what's wrong with you? Because I'm checked out. I'm like, you just scream. Do what you're gonna do. I'm going to surround you with calming, loving vibes. And it is almost magical because it assists both sides. It assists me to keep my temper and not act in a way that would make the situation more volatile. And it also calms them down. So I don't know what the magic is behind it, but it does work. So yeah.
Yeah, that's powerful. It might be the universe if you're doing all that already, and it's still like you're still in that stressful, volatile environment. It might be the universe is saying maybe it's time to make a change.
Oh, absolutely. Working at that. It's just not as easy. Yeah, but no, I think that information that you have and your teachings are amazing. I think now, do you have a book? Because I think you have a book out, or no? Is it a book
Well,
that you
it's
have?
an ebook. It's
Oh,
on
okay.
my website,
Mhm,
courageinaction.com,
mhm.
and it's a free ebook. So it's messages from spirit, and they're written, and there's MP3s there. So if somebody wants to go to my website, they can get that ebook. It's about, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 pages. So
Not bad. So when you say messages from spirit, what does that mean?
they're channeled messages from spirit. And what I did is I just sat with the energy and said, "Okay, spirit, what do you want us to know?" And something would come through. There's one there. It's a written one about love. That's my favorite one. It's talking about, what we believe is love. Like in human world, love is about need and it's transactional. And when we grow up learning love is, abusive, that's what we know love is. But I don't remember. It's been a while since I've channeled it and read it, but it talks about what divine love is. That's my favorite one out of all the written ones. But I would just sit with spirit and say, sometimes what would come through is, the power of asking empowering questions. And, I just, whatever came through, I wrote it down or I recorded it. And so it's all kinds of different topics. I can't remember. The loved one stands out because that's my
Mm,
favorite.
yeah. You don't do sessions with spirit very often, or is it like once a month, or just when you want to
Uh,
write?
you mean like programs that I do?
Well, no, like you said, when you communicate with the spirit or whatever. I mean, do
Oh,
you do
that
that
was,
regularly?
I don't, that those were done for a program I hold, 33
Oh,
Days of
okay.
Healing, and put them into a book. It's not as far as, talking with spirit. I guess I'm doing that all the time with my guides, when I'm working with
Mhm,
clients. And so, and then I talk to, call it the universe, source, my guide, spirit all the time. I'm not really too fixated on words because, that's a human invention.
mhm,
So, connecting with the energy, and I'll talk to it, especially if I'm feeling, yeah, overwhelmed and tired, or I've done too much, which, can, like you said, can happen. And I'll just say, I call on Archangel Michael a lot, Archangel Raphael for healing, and Archangel Michael for strength and power. And when I'm just feeling exhausted, or it's just too much and I need energy, I'll just say, Archangel Michael, fill me full of your divine power, your divine strength, your courage, Archangel Michael. Fill me full of it so that I feel it in every cell of my body, and then ground me into the earth with this, divine power, strength, courage. And I really need you right now, Archangel Michael. I need your energy. I need your power. I just got a little more to do, or whatever it is. And yeah, I'll call on Archangel Michael, and he's helped me through some really tough times.
wow, that's amazing. That's really amazing. So, if our listeners and fans wanted to head over to your website and book a session, you do phone sessions or and camera sessions, or
They're actually audio. So the phone
okay.
sessions I can do them anywhere around the world. I've got it, the conference platform I've got. And yeah, they're phone sessions. So if a person prefers something interactive, and we can clear out, if any memories or trauma comes up in the moment, that can be cleared out. So what I do is we go right into the unconscious conditioning, and I'll just say, like, person tells me, what's going on with them. And then I'll just say, when they feel like they're done, might ask a few more questions, and then I'll just let my guides guide me to where we need to go. Often it's an emotion that's stuck. It's a limiting belief that's stuck. And once that lets go, it's like it unravels a stream of consciousness, and it all comes up. And we'll just keep clearing that out until the person feels lighter, and whatever the issue is, and often many more issues come up, they're all resolved. I do that, but I also started out full time by working just with the picture. So a person sends me their picture and whatever they want cleared, and we just go deep into that because the picture holds energy. The energy of the person, and also their energy field. Everything holds energy. So I actually started out doing that. I didn't even offer phone sessions for the first couple years, like after I started doing this full time. And some people do prefer that. In fact, most of my long-term clients do it that way, just from the picture. And they just send me their
Wow.
information and a new picture every time because the energy changes. We just go deep into that. And because it's just energy, it gives me and my guides the ability to go really, really deep, really, really quickly. So there's two ways, through
Wow.
the phone, like audio only, or through a picture.
That's amazing. I think that you're correct. Like, ridding yourselves of these limiting beliefs is how we move forward. Thinking that you don't deserve better, or standing in front of yourself from receiving what's really meant for you, whether it's money, house, a relationship. People get stuck in those negative emotions and they don't step away from that. Get out from in front of yourself. You're blocking yourself from what you deserve and need. So,
Mhm.
um, if in anybody that's like that, that's listening, you head over to Joyce. What's your website again? Shout that out. Um,
Courageinaction.com. So
courage,
courageinaction.com.
courageandaction.com. Yeah. So that's a great, let's see if I can put it up on the screen here. Anything else that you offer in your services that you would
Um,
want them to know?
Those are I do have a shop there with various MP3s, and
Mm,
the most popular one is the Chakra Balance. It seems that's what people at least usually email me about, but there's different MP3s there on releasing mother and father conditioning. I do also have a Instagram and a YouTube now, but I'll
mhm.
send you that information. I can't say that
Yeah,
off, yeah. So I'll
I'm
send
on
you
your
that information if
Instagram.
you want to, you know,
Yeah, we'll add it to the show
well,
notes and
yeah.
whatnot. I was trying to
Did
find
you
your
want me
website.
to
It's
do
on it.
a group process? Do we have time or?
Sure, yeah, no, let's try it. That would be fun.
Okay. Okay, so, let's do the ancestral since we were talking about it. So I called
Mm,
ancestral timeline release. Okay, so
okay.
let's take a deep breath in, let go, and because we're doing this for everybody here, think of something that you would like to release, and it can be an emotion, like it can be hate, anger, it can be guilt, shame, whatever, anything like that. Just think of something, and you can do this as many times as you want. So for now, whatever comes up, if it's, I can feel guilt is coming up for a lot of people. So, okay, there you go. Just take a deep breath in, let that go. Archangel Raphael, Archangel Michael, Saint Germain's going to come in as well. And anybody else you want to support you will come in as well. Okay, go to the moment in time when this emotion or behavior or situation became anchored. So even if it's several generations back, go to the moment in time when this became anchored. Just witness that. Take a look at what happened that caused that to be anchored. There you go. Just take a deep breath in. And Michael, Raphael, Saint Germain, release this situation, emotion, behavior, whatever needs to be released from this moment in time. Just let it be released and resolve whatever happened that caused us to be anchored in that moment in time. Let's also bless that and ask for healing for that. Okay. Now, that moment in time, we ask for blessing and healing. So, all the way back in your ancestral timeline, there's blessing and healing. Resolving that, letting go of that, just letting go of that, letting it be free. There you go. And okay, now let's go forward in your ancestral timeline and any moments in time when that became anchored, whether it's guilt, shame, fear, anxiety, a behavior, a situation that keeps repeating. Any moment in time when it became anchored, just see that being dissolved. Michael, Raphael, Saint Germain, dissolve that, release that, and bless that moment in time. Let there be healing. There you go. Resolving the situation that caused that to become anchored, and now continue moving forward along your ancestral timeline, releasing any moments that became anchored, releasing the stress of that, the density of that, the heaviness of that, letting it all be released, dissolved. There you go. Coming forward along your ancestral timeline, now we're at your moment of conception. In any ways in which that became anchored within you, release that now on all levels mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, cellular, throughout all moments in time, throughout all of eternity. There you go. Okay, so let's go to when you were in the womb and any ways in which you were picking up on your mother's frequencies of that emotion, incident, situation, that trauma. Let's just see that being released. Know that it's not your responsibility to absorb that frequency when you're in the womb. There you go. Just let that go. Let that be released. There. Okay. Let's go to your birth now. Any trauma around your birth, any ways in which that became anchored and is still traumatizing you, any ways in which it's still restricting you, limiting you in any way, shape, or form. Let's honor and acknowledge that. accept, and then just let it be released so that you can be free of that. You can feel light, happy, joyful once again. Okay, now let's travel down your present day timeline and any moments in your present day timeline when that became anchored, that was causing you stress, heaviness, fear, anxiety, shame, that situation, releasing that from your present day timeline, just letting that be resolved, and any energies, issues, situations around that have been causing that to be resolved, let's just let that be released, free. Set it free, set it free, set yourself free, set yourself free. Take a deep breath in and let's come to the present day and release any moments when that became anchored, any ways in which that is anchored in your present day, any ways in which that trauma is present or anchored in your present day. Let's just let that go. Let that go. And now give yourself permission to feel light, free, expansive. Give yourself permission to feel uplifted, inspired, healthy, vibrant, energized, joyful. And always remember to be kind, compassionate, and understanding to yourself. You are to others. Be kind, compassionate, and understanding and accepting of yourself as well. And give yourself permission now to feel good, to feel optimistic and uplifted. Soshoka basa wala sashoko babaka awala sa soshoka basa wala ka tukabase babaka soshoka basa wala ka awala ka soshoka basa wala ka soshoka base tukabasa. There you go, my friend. Namaste.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Amazing. I hope that helps anybody, in their personal life. If are you do you think people could do things like that on their own without being guided?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. The biggest thing is trust. Somebody does, if you do something like that or hear messages, and then often we want that, that evidence from the five senses that it's real. So this is where, as you know, like to be a healer or to receive messages or a medium or anything like that, you've got to trust because it's way beyond the five senses. It's that called a sixth sense or from a higher dimension. And but yeah, anybody can do that. And you can do that, either you can listen to this again or do it again, or you can do it by listening to this or something similar or on your own, and go back and retrieve the gifts your ancestors have for you. If you want abundance, you can go back and go to, so you would ask for an ancestor. Show me an ancestor, take me to an ancestor who was very rich, who had a lot of money, just a lot of wealth. Go back to that moment in time and then ask for anything that was heavy or dense, such as greed or self-centeredness, like only caring about themselves. Ask for that to be released and just bring forth divine abundance. And yeah, there's no right or
Mm,
wrong way. It's energy we're dealing with. As long as you trust yourself and your intentions, this is actually important. As long as your intention, whether if it's for yourself or for somebody else, if your intention is that it be uplifting, that you come from a place of kindness, that it's your intention comes from a good place, like it comes from your heart, then whatever you do is it's going to be okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can't be perfect when you're working with energy. Just trust
mm,
yourself and trust in the process and ensure you're coming from the heart. And if you're working with somebody else, just set your intention that it's in, their highest and greatest good, and that they get, what they need. They get their needs and desires met.
mhm. Yep. Thank you so much for coming on. I'd love to have you back on again.
Yeah, that would
I
be
mean,
great.
potentially even maybe we do like a live where we bring people on too. try and work with us and see what they can come up with, what you can assist them with. In the meantime,
Absolutely.
your website is scrolling at the bottom of the screen, so you guys go on over, and she's got a really great website. I kind of browsed through it over the last few days, and it's a lot of good information. So check that out, and I hope to see you again soon.
Great. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for having
You're,
me
you're,
on, and thank you
you're
for everybody
welcome.
else who's here.
See you later.
Okay, bye.